when you are installing Unity, it's gonna ask you to install Visual Studio as well. So if you just follow the instructions, say okay, 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 you should have also Visual Studios with you as well. Make sure you also have that. And okay, so if you just open your Unity Hub, in the installs, you will see, you don't need to see many different versions. You will need to see this one, 2019 4.1, 4.17F. You probably don't see all these, that's okay. But if you want to install more modules, you can actually go here, say add modules. And you can add few different modules here, but just follow the default, should be okay for now. Let's go to the project and let's make our first new project. So what is this one? I don't need it. So, okay, I'm going to make a new project in the desktop. So if you have few more versions, you can actually scroll down and choose the version. As I have two, I will choose this one. And there are a few different templates, but we are going to use the simple 3D. And in the location, you wanna just choose somewhere safe. In my opinion, if you are using like external hard drive, don't make it there because it's gonna be a little bit slow. So for now, I'm gonna just make it on the desktop, and I'm going to make a new name called resolution Earth. That's okay. And then I'm gonna create. If you start your Unity, this is what I see. Mainly, this is called hierarchy, and this is scene, and this is a game scene, and there's this inspector. So you probably don't see this window here, so I'm gonna just close it. So you probably will see something like this. If you have slightly different layout, don't worry. So some of you might have this game scene somewhere here. It's also a good position to be. So mainly, once you make your package, there will be a folder created like this. And this is the folder directory. Like you see the project and you see the assets. In the assets, there is scenes, and it's actually corresponding. And you see also packages folder, which you can also see here. But mostly we are going to use this assets folder. We don't really go into any other folders. But this is quite important to know. And this is where you can see all the elements that is in the scene. So in our scene currently, we have a camera and a directional light. Okay. And what happens in this game engine, so I'm going to move this game scene to here again. So what really happens is whenever you run the game, so I will run the game, nothing is gonna happen actually, but this is what you will see if you play the game when you export your game. So that's how you set up your game scene. So we are starting to create a 3D game, not a 2D game. Okay, so we can actually start by creating a cube. So just right click, say 3D object and a cube, or you can go to game object and create a cube. And if you click on this cube, there are a few parameters that you can see from the inspector window. By default, it kind of created in a random position. So if you also press select it and press F, then it can zoom selection. And I want this to be in a 0, 0, 0 position, and you can just type 0, 0, 0 there, or you can right click on the transform and say reset. So you can reset the position to be somewhere in the centered to 0, 0, 0. So this is a default cube. I can right click and add a sphere, for example, and by default it's in a like weird position. I can reset and I can move, and you will see that in the game scene something changed as well. What this game scene is actually seeing is based on this main camera. So it's seeing what this main camera is seeing. Yeah. All right. And Unity's unit is 1 meter. So one unit in Unity means 1 meter. I know in America it's not using this meter system, but to be able to coordinate this with Unity, we'd better use meter to set up our models. So it's actually much better if you switch your Rhino models to meter unit before you export your models to Unity. So basically, Unity game engine, any game engine, is not a modeling software. They are really bad for modeling. It's not really meant to be doing any modeling. So that's why we have to always hybrid and use in between other modeling software. Okay, so anyways, let's say we have this and we want to add some colors. So for applying different colors, you will have to explode it and apply different colors and materials. So what I'm gonna do is, you probably were creating different layers for material: blue, pink, white, or gray. Say gray for this guy, pink for this guy, maybe blue for this guy, for example. And you have to add different materials. So I have already blue material with me, pink material with me. It was coming from this guy, and I'll just say white for this guy. And in the render view, I can see different materials. But when you are exporting this, you should not export per layer. You should apply this as an object material. So I realized that this doesn't work for other for Rhino. So if I just export this now, this won't really apply to Unity. So if you really want to see all these materials in Unity like this, make sure your material name is unique. So don't just say default 1, default 2, custom 1, custom 2. So make the name of the material correct. And after you apply them into different surfaces, into different layer, what you want to do is you just select objects, select all the objects, and then apply material and say use object, apply that material to the object instead of using the layer material. So do that for all of these. So select objects, select all of these. That needs to be pink. And then go to your material property and change that to pink. Just do the same thing for everything, just once before you export. So just change it to the actual material. Okay. So now I have all the material as their object material instead of layer material. I can select all of this and make sure this is in unit scale, which is correct. And then I'm going to export this as FBX or OBJ. So there's pros and cons. OBJ is actually lighter. FBX can contain much more information, and if you need them to be splitted in the future, it comes as parts. So it's a little heavier. So we are going to try OBJ this time. Actually, FBX is better. You can just export as FBX and then say sample house and say meshes only in this case, and material as Lambert, map Rhino Z to FBX Y up, Y not, yeah, and say okay. And see, this is actually asking us to convert automatically. And we tested it before, maybe the center is okay. But if you want to be more precise, you can mesh it first and then export that mesh. But this one is now nerves. And when we are exporting to FBX, it's already asking us to convert it to it. Okay. So it's a FBX. So you can just drag this to this SS folder and then drag this to our scene. And this sample scene is actually coming with a lot of different things. Because FBX, I told you FBX is heavier, it's coming with a lot of different, it comes with all the materials and layers, and also the cameras. So we need to delete the cameras. So delete the front camera. So before you delete them, you have to right click and say unpack prefab and delete the front camera, perspective camera, right camera, and top camera. And you can see that it's now not confusing with any cameras. It also comes with the layers, which is also pretty cool. We can just set the transform and rotate it. Yeah, so we have our model in. I just want to have our human to be in to just test if I'm correct. So I drag my walk person similarly and drag it in, reset and position him correctly, and put him somewhere else. So it looks like it's correct. So that was some scale that I wanted. So do you see the difference? Do you see how it works? Yeah. Okay. So that's how you import your geometry and delete the other things. So we have one your own house model and a person to check the scale. Okay. And now we can actually experience this in the game scene. Let's put a ground. So if I right click and put a plane and reset the position, and I'm going to just scale this. Oh, so WER to change the controller. And I can actually scale this thing infinitely big for now. Okay. And you see that my main camera is somewhere in a very awkward position. So what I want to do is I want my camera to maybe start from this position. And I like this view. Then you should be here and select your camera. You watch this game scene and go to game object and align with view. So select the main camera and align with view, or Control Shift F. Then you can see that this is actually, your camera is actually aligned to the scene, but now the lighting is really bad, so you can actually adjust the lighting accordingly. So something fits your purpose better, and maybe you want it to be a little bit closer. And this whole world is set for meter scale. So if you're in meter scale, it should be fine. It won't be very weird. Okay. So this is a pretty simple first setup of your camera. And then what you want to do is you want this world, the lightings to be baked better. So go to your window, rendering, lighting settings, and turn on the real-time global illumination and tick off the baked global illumination and say generate lighting. And just do it once and it generates the lighting environment, so everything is a little bit brighter. So that's what you can do, how to improve the first scene. And then I'm going to share one more thing called Simple Camera Controller. So I dragged it to the Unity folder, download it, and drag this one to your assets folder. Okay, and this is a C# script, which we will go through this later. But before we use it, let's create a good habit for organizing folders. So in assets folder, in the future, you will have lots of things. So make sure whenever you import something, just put it in a good folder. So right click on the assets folder and create a folder. And you will see that this is going to affect the folder directory directly. So you will see what's happening in the folder here. I go to my assets folder and I will right click and say create folder. And I'm going to say models. You see that models folder is also created here. So I'm going to bring all the models inside models folder and right click create folder scripts and put all the scripts inside the scripts folder. Is that okay? Just to create a good habit. Yeah. And we are going to use this camera controller in our main camera. So what's actually happening is if you play the game, this is actually what the user is seeing, but there's no camera controller, so you cannot move around. So I'm going to say maximize on play. So this will get maximized whenever I play. And you go to the main camera and see that in the inspector and drag this script to the camera. So now the camera is possessing another component called simple camera controller. So now this camera is able to be controlled with a simple controller. And what this is allowing is when you play, you can actually control with your mouse for rotation and ASDW key for moving and actually experiencing. There are lots of different camera controller you can customize because this is essentially a C# script which you can customize. So this is actually happening while you're playing the game. If you export this game, any of your friend who installs your game can see this and can interact with ASDW key.